Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers, and I'm looking at a curious book this morning from Ashgate Publishing. It's got a long title, but don't be afraid of it, because there's a lot involved in this book which is well worth reading. It's called The Global Anti-Money Laundering Regulatory Landscape in Less Developed Countries, and it's been written by Norman Mugarura. Now, the title we've given it, which is on the web and in the journals, is Money Laundering and the Developing World. An interesting read for lawyers and scholars in this field. And as I've said, it's an area which is quite interesting, but detailed. It's been recently published by Ashgate. There's the front, there's the spine, and you've got some interesting testimonials on the back. The book itself has a lot of detail in it, very substantial index, and you've got a very useful contents page at the front. List of abbreviations, again, very helpful, because some won't be particularly known to you. There's a good foreword which explains exactly where this book is going, and then there's also a preface as well. And then when you look at the book itself, you do have useful footnotes at the bottom. There isn't the actual paragraph numbering at the sides which you often get with books, but it is more of a narrative book in that sense. For instance, you start off in chapter 2, there's again an introduction. So it's logically set out, and there is a lot of detail, and as I say, a lot of copious footnoting that goes on. The total page numbers are just about 320, something like that altogether. Now, as I say, it's been recently published by Ashgate, and it's a timely publication in view of the burgeoning threat inherent in money laundering worldwide. And it's a very big issue, far bigger than we've actually really reckoned or wanted to pay attention to in the past. So the book's presented as the first of its kind to have focused on the worrying link between money laundering and developing economies. Specifically, the immense and special difficulties such countries face when tackling money laundering are subjected to detailed scrutiny and analysis, and backed by a great deal of pertinent research. So it's very much a book really for the future. What Mr. Mugarura has suggested here is that certain factors such as corruption, lack of adequate infrastructure, and the failure of systems, in other words, systemic failure, in less developed countries are largely being led to blame for the proliferation of this type of criminal activity. I think it's very easy to compartmentalize things, but clearly we have a problem, a bit like how we control the internet, if you like, globally, because it is of a global nature, and that's really where this book's value comes in. What we assume is that when he says systemic failure, that refers to the inefficiency of or lack of efficient and or ethics-based administrative and judicial systems to combat this type of crime, money laundering, and similar types of crime in the corruption-related areas. Unfortunately, in some jurisdictions, says Mugarura, the role of the courts is undercut by the obduracy of governments, which treats them as conduits for their wishes, and mere accessories of the state, primarily interpreting laws to foster the will of Parliament. And you're going to get that whether you like it or not, and so therefore it's something we should be aware of. So there is the international problem. Law certainly meets international financial crime and criminology well in this book, and obviously it is a global perspective that's being offered. The 4 appendices, I think, also are very useful, including the deliberations of the Financial Action Task Force, which is an intergovernmental body which recommends various anti-money laundering processes, principles and procedures. It reflects the copious amount of research which has been undertaken by the author. I'd like to thank him and Ashgate for producing it. It's an important area, and it's one which we in the second decade of the 21st century have got to start looking at, perhaps with a little bit more seriousness. Thank you to all concerned. Bye-bye.